I'm your host, Meghlab Hardwaj. And on today's episode, I have with me Margaret and Kevin, who are Amazon sellers from Melbourne. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Kevin. How are you guys doing?
Hi. How are you, Meghlab?
Hi, Meghlab. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Just hoping the coronavirus will go away soon. But other than that, life is good.
Very soon.
Very soon.
Yes. Well, we're super excited to hear about your story, Marg and Kevin. You know, you've been, of course, selling on Amazon for a couple of years now. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what were you doing before you started selling on Amazon, and when did you start selling?
Yeah, Marg can sort of do that.
Okay, well, first of all, I suppose I'll quickly go through. I've worked in finance, insurance, budgeting, loans, revenue manager in local government. I've managed several other businesses, and then Kevin and I had our own business. We had smash repair or panel shop and tow trucks for nearly 20 years. Kevin was involved in it, and I was in it for probably half of that time, full time. And Kevin's background, I suppose, is panel beater and.
Yeah,
you want to tell them what you are?
Yeah, and aviation engineering sort of background as well.
So then we sold that after nearly 20 years, and we actually started just mentoring small businesses, trying to help people who had come from a trade background and had no idea about running a business, and writing profiles for people trying to sell their businesses. And then one day we stumbled across a video about Amazon, and the rest is history. That's about 3.5 years ago nearly now. And we originally started sourcing from China and Korea. Then we moved over. Luckily, we met an Indian supplier actually in Hong Kong when we were on our way to a Canton Fair, and started sourcing from India, and have been and had a great time. Really enjoy sourcing from the Indian community. It's been great. So we've been doing that for about 2.5 years. I also manage some accounts, Amazon accounts for a New Zealand company, and I do one-on-one coaching or mentoring to people who are just starting out on Amazon, wanting to find their way through the maze. And I suppose my biggest focus for people is making sure that when they start, they get their costings right, and they don't go into this and don't have enough money in their products before they go live and they're falling backwards. So that's probably our main story.
Nice. So what kind of opportunities do you think there are for people in Australia who want to sell online? You know, whether they want to sell in Australia or even globally, especially in the US?
Well, look, I mean, nowadays there's so many markets to choose from. I mean, you can really do US, you can do Australia, you can do Canada and Mexico out of the US. We go to Singapore, we can go to India. So there's lots of different opportunities on the Amazon path. But if you want this, you know, Shopify, you could do eBay. There's so many other sources. You can do your own website.
There's Catch.
Yeah, Catch of the Day from Australia. So it just depends what you want to do. But I'd suggest to choose one to start with. Don't try and launch yourself on 3 or 4 different platforms at once. Learn one and learn how to do that, and then branch to something different. I personally think I like America and US just because of the population size. You know, you've got 300+ million people over there, and in Australia you've got 30 million. So, you know, it's a lot easier to get some decent sales. Amazon Australia is fairly new and very slow to get going. So, you know, you can sort of sell 10 times as many products really in reality, because you've just got the population. Plus Americans are, I suppose, grown up on Amazon, know a lot about Amazon. Australia, it's new. I think we're still learning in Australia, Amazon.
And plus America, there's so many shipping companies that know how to ship straight into Amazon or into a third-party warehouse, and so there's proven, you know, people with that experience that know how to do that sort of stuff for Amazon and the packaging. I
think it's a lot easier, because there's a lot more experience in, you know, in the background, in the logistics and all that. Everyone in Australia is still learning how to use Amazon Australia.
Yeah, and it is expensive to ship to Australia from China or India. A lot more expensive than going into America, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you could source from, there's a couple of places in Australia you can source from, like Australian-made website, or we've been to a couple of trade fairs in Melbourne, and they're in Sydney, where you can actually find products to sell if you wanted to just sell locally. But, you know, a lot of those are more geared to sell overseas as well. So, you know, you need to really do the exporting to other countries from here as well. before they go setting up a store, they possibly need to start doing a bit of training to find out what they're in for and make sure this is for them. Opening the account is a little, you just got to make sure you've got your facts right and you answer everything correctly, but it's just a matter of going online and filling out all the required information. But I think if you don't know what's involved, you can be just signing up for something that you've got, you know, until you get deeper down it and you start to source products and go through the whole process. Because really, when Amazon, you need to learn. You don't need to know, but it's all a learning process, because you've got to be able to source products, you've got to be able to ship them, pack them, box dye lines, you've got to do copy to write your listings, you need to know about images, advertising, marketing, websites. So, I mean, it's not for everyone. I think if people are just thinking this is going to be a little hobby where they're going to just, you know, outlay a couple of $1,000 and sit down for, you know, an hour a week and do it, it's not. It's a big commitment, especially if you go into Amazon. They're expecting you to be a professional business. So you need to spend quite a bit of money to actually set yourself up initially. It's not something that you can just, you know, perhaps if that's what you want to do, maybe an eBay or something is a lot easier. There's not as much involved as dealing with Amazon. You don't have to be sort of so strict with all your listing and everything as Amazon. So I think, you know, they're different. But eBay is obviously not as easy to grow, I don't think, as Amazon. It's a little bit of a different site.
Right. So what's the best way to get all of this information? Like, should people do a course maybe?
Look, there's a couple of ways. I at the moment, I'm a bit of a, as Megla will know, a helium-10 fan. And with that now, it's a software package that you can run your whole Amazon business through. But with that now, they give you access to a free course by Kevin King called Freedom Ticket. And that's got basically, it's probably one of the best courses out there, all the information you need from go to woe. So you need to really get that software and listen to that, I think, right through and decide if that's what you think selling on Amazon is. And then there's another course, or it's not really a course, it's I suppose a video, a series of 10 or 12 videos that Tim Jordan and Bradley Sutton from Helium 10 made, and it's got lots of help. They actually source products from the start through to the end, so you can actually see all the steps. So I think it's much better to do something like that. You can go and look, there's lots of courses out there that marketers add, and you can spend $30,000 before you know it just doing training courses, and you're still only watching videos online. So I think just be careful if you're going to do that, and talk to a few people before you sign up for any of those big dollar courses, because there is free information out there that I think gives you as much. And then quite often you might find you need a little bit of help, so then you can go and get some private coaching just through a couple of hours here and there, where you get to the really tricky parts where you're not sure and you need some help, or have I got the right product? Have I costed it properly? How do I ship it? They're all things that people can get stuck on. And I think that way you're not spending as much money, because you've got most of your training for free. So then you can just spend a lot less on, you know, a course, because some of the courses you sign up for one course and the next thing you're paying for an add-on course and another add-on course, and it just gets very, very costly.
Right. So can you explain the concept of private label? A lot of Amazon sellers, you know, they sell private label products. What exactly is it, and how can people do private label?
Well, it's basically, I suppose, you choose a product and usually you try and differentiate it, make it your own. So, you know, you might pick a bowl and change the shape of it, or the design, or the material, but it doesn't have to be. You can buy products direct and private label them. So really what you do is you make up a name that you want to call a brand for your business. Can be anything that you really fancy. And at the moment, if you're dealing with Amazon, you probably then need to trademark that name. So it becomes your own, which is a little bit costly. And these are the things that you've got to take into consideration when you're setting up all these costs, because you really need to do private label. You've got to, you know, get a logo done. You've got to trademark it. You do box design and put your own logo on the box, but that way you stand out from everyone else. You can go on and sell just generic, but it doesn't sort of look as good and doesn't have as much weight. And the best thing of a brand is you can sell it at the end. If you can build your business up with that brand, you've got something to sell in 2 or 3 years' time. You can you can sell the brand off and make some money.
And for people who are innovative and got ideas on certain products, they can make them products their own by simple changes sometimes. Some people might see an idea, there's a need for a certain product, and they can see that that all they have to do is have that product designed and made, and if they go to the right sort of factory, they can have that sort of design made, and it's their own design, and it can add to their brand, can't they?
Yeah, you can, like you can build a niche of all different products in different niches, or you can go down one line and just do all kitchenware, or like there's lots of different opportunities, and everyone does it differently. There's nothing saying you have, once you choose one particular path, that you can't add others to that same brand. There's no rule. It's just however you want to do it. And I think you've got to look around Amazon and have a look at how other people sell and get the ideas of how it all works. I think you need to just spend a lot of time looking on Amazon and finding out how the products work,
it all works,
and look a little bit deeper than just clicking on a product, and look into it and see how it's branded and is it branded, and then decide what you want to do from there.
And obviously pick a niche that you like to follow, and then a niche you can actually grow from, like a few products in a niche.
Yeah, some people do that. Yeah, so
other.
You can sell complementary products. Yeah, so there's lots of opportunities and lots of different, and like everything sells on Amazon. I don't think if you name a product, you'll probably find it on there in some form. So it's not that you can only sell a few items. There's virtually anything you can sell, from furniture down to little matchboxes. Like there's no limit to what can be sold on there.
Right. So how do people go about choosing what to sell on Amazon? I mean, product research is, of course, a big challenge for many people who sell on Amazon. What advice do you have for selecting products?
Look, it's a lot of people go, oh, I know what I want to sell. I've always wanted to sell that because I love it. That's probably the worst thing you can do. The best thing you can do is probably through the Helium 10 software is do all your product research, because what Amazon is, it's keyword based. So if you don't choose a product that has good keywords and that you can find by keywords, it's very difficult to sell. We made that mistake in the very start, and we chose a product that we thought, yeah, everyone's going to want this. But then once we went to list it, we found there was nobody else searching for it because nobody knew about it and they didn't know what the keywords were. So it didn't work because we just didn't have any way of actually selling it. So I think that's really important, that when you start to look for a product, but once you do the product research and you do the training, all this is explained a lot
clearer.
Yeah, in more detail, because it's very complicated. But what you've always got to think about is, if I want to buy that, how am I going to find it? What would I say to find it? And if there's not many words, if there's only one or two words for that, it's pretty hard to get that to be a success.
Because we had a couple of bundles of things where we added useful pieces to that bundle, and in the keywords it got mixed up because because you don't know which what is the right keyword, so it can become so you really got to give a lot more thought to. And I mean, we've learned a lot since, and the software's changed. There's a lot more information out there how to do this, like than 3 or 4 years ago. It was a lot different to what it is now. There's a lot more help out there, a lot more training videos that are really good to get you through those sort of hard steps, I think.
Right. So once we've found a product to sell, what's the next step? How do you go about finding suppliers, whether in Australia or India or China? What's the process?
Look, it depends what the product you've chosen is as to where you start sourcing. If it's something made out of plastic or silica and you really don't have a choice, probably then most of that will come out of China. And if you're dealing with China, you've either got to fly over to China and go to the Canton Fair, which is on twice a year, or you can go on Alibaba, which is like. Or
you can go to Yiwu.
Yeah, you can go to Yiwu. There's a few different fairs and things you can go to. But I think if you can go on a site called Alibaba, which is just like a big website that has millions of products. But the thing is, there's you and probably another 1,000 people on there every day looking at those products, and you end up putting yourself into a niche where there's so many competing people all selling identical things, because even though you can private label it, it's still, you know, it's the same pair of tongs or the same bowl or whatever, because you go online and you'll see a whole screen of identical products, and that's where it becomes very difficult, because in particular in sort of the US marketplace, about 48% of the sellers are actually Chinese, and a lot of those are Chinese factories. So once you're buying off Alibaba, you're really competing with Chinese factories who don't have the overheads that you have, because they've got their stocks there. So it's very easy for them to just ship through and not pay all of the costs we have to pay them. They're able to ship a lot cheaper because they've got a much better volume. So I think you've just got to be careful doing that. But if you go to Vietnam, India, Korea, it's a little bit easier because you don't have the competition, but then it's a much harder thing to find the products. So with India, as I don't know if everyone knows about your trip, Megala, but we've got a trip that goes to India, to their Delhi fair, and we can actually deal with suppliers on the floor and see products, and you can actually change them. You can say to the manufacturer, I like that, but can I do it with a different look or a different material? And it's a way to get very different products, and they're handmade, and they're not, because they're not on a website, you haven't got everyone looking at them. So it's only you and the people that go to that fair that see them. Or the other option is a sourcing agent, which there's quite a few good sourcing agents that you can approach in India, and they will, but you need to know what you want. You can't say, find me a product. You have to say, I want this, I want it to be this big, this wide, made out of this. Can you get me some prices on it? So you have to do a lot of homework first and get some diagrams done. So you need to know what you're after. And the same it would apply for that in Vietnam, Korea, there's quite a few other, Bangladesh, depending what it is, there's a lot of other places you can source. But I think it's better in the long run to get something that's different, that's not out of China, because you don't have so much competition.
We wherever we go now since joining Amazon, we constantly on the look for things, whether we're out in the restaurant, in the bar, go to the shop, we look at packaging, we just look at things and look at things in a different way. That how could we change that, to sell on Amazon? And it's funny how the opportunities you see every day when you're just walking around, and even how to better our packaging that we have, certain packaging, and we look at packaging, we go, oh, look at how that opens, we can sort of add that and make it look better, or the artwork, certain artwork. There's a lot of different things out there.
But I mean, if you want to do plastic, you really don't have a choice. And I think you've got to be careful if you're dealing out of China to make sure that you are dealing with a factory and not just a middleman somewhere that's just making a margin out of it. And it's very difficult to be certain that you've got a factory that you can trust and that's working with you, because you've just got to watch who you're dealing with, I think.
You can fall down rabbit holes in Alibaba, and there is some what you call fly-by-night sort of operators that will sort of steal you away from the platform, and sort of set you up in a little sort of factory rather than like a
and I think when you start, you've got to make sure, you've got to say, I'm a professional Amazon seller. It's no good going and saying, this is my first order, I don't know what I'm doing, because you're gone. You've got to, you need
to present yourself.
You've got to really present yourself as a business person who's been selling for a long time, and you're just looking for some new products, because otherwise you can easily be taken down.
Well, a lot of the Chinese factories, they're so busy, unless if you're just a mum and dad business, they know that it's only not many dollars they're going to be playing with, so they want to sort of play with the big players. Right. Sometimes, not just the mum and dad, so that's weekend sort of sellers.
Right. So you've been sourcing from China and India, and what has your experience been like, and what are some of the differences sourcing from China and India?
Communication, I think, was the hardest dealing with China. A lot of things get misinterpreted. You can say something and they go, yes, we know what you're talking about, and they haven't got a clue. we had a lot of trouble with our box skylines, which people, if you don't know what I'm talking about, they're the measurements that boxes get folded. So you have someone professionally like draw up the dimensions, and we sent our files to China and said, "You right? Yeah," but they couldn't read the drawings.
We found that they couldn't. The files that we actually sent them, and they were Adobe files, that they couldn't open them, and they didn't have the I don't know what it is, the license from Adobe or something, but they struggled through it, and we ended up with
very large boxes that we did. They were nothing like the dimensions we gave them. So whereas we find like dealing in India in particular is so much easier because the language barrier is not there. It's so much easier to communicate, and I just find that the people, it's just a different culture. I think they are a lot more helpful. They're not just out to make a dollar. They want it to work for you and for them, and they want you to come back and be
have
a
long-term relationship.
So I'm I'm been very, very happy dealing in India compared to dealing with China. In fact, I say I'd never go back to China, but if I find something I really have to have made there, I probably will. But
if we find the right factory that we can trust and build, have a relationship.
It'd take a lot to drag me back, I think.
Because we did have a product that we sort of put together, and it was selling really well, and we found out that our factory was our competition.
They copy you very quickly, and they said, "Oh, that's a really great idea you've got there," and 2 months later somebody else is on Amazon selling our product, and we went, "Yeah, hello," and of course $5 cheaper than us, so there goes your profit margin. So so it is very, you've just got to be careful who you deal with all the time. You've got to be, not trust. I think you've got to learn not to trust anyone, and to always triple check everything. Go back and ask, can you show me? They'll say, yeah, it looks right in the box. What can you show me on a video, please? I want to see in your factory. You've got to really triple check. Sometimes you just think, oh, I don't need to check that, but you do. And you need to check it twice, not once.
Because even some of the paperwork, like what they call triple
NNN agreement
and NDA, non-disclosure agreements, in China, sometimes the people that there don't respect those documents. And if you went to court, it would cost us a lot of money to sue that. And I think they know, they really know that, don't they? And they take advantage of that. Whereas India, I think India is more loyal in the way that they respect, the Western culture more in when it comes to law. And when we put legal documents to our factories, they're more respectful, aren't they?
I just think, but look, a lot of people have great relationships in China as well. I think it's just, you've got to be careful, and you've got to work on it and try and have a good relationship with whoever you deal with, and not take anything for granted.
Okay, that's great advice. So what, in your opinion, is the outlook for e-commerce, in Australia and globally, and especially for Amazon?
Look, I think once we get over this horrible crisis we're in and get on the downward curve, I think it's going to be probably better than it's ever been, because with what's happened recently, so many people, I know Amazon have been opening up Prime accounts willy-nilly because there's just so many people now all of a sudden can't get out to the store. So they're learning how to use Amazon. Even though Amazon has a big marketplace, they still only have, I think it's 12% of the retail in America is sold online. The rest is still through bricks and mortar. So there's still a hell of a long way for us to go before we even get to 50%. So there's so many opportunities to get, further products on, and obviously look at now what people were short on in this crisis. But once again, don't all go and steal hand sanitizers and masks, because it's not going to work. It's going to be overly crowded market. But just think a little bit more further afield than that of other things that have happened. Like even everyone at the moment in Australia is doing DIY because everyone's got nothing to do, so they're all painting their house or doing handyman jobs. So there's
arts and crafts for the children. Games for mum and dad, because mum and dads are going to be bored as well as the kids. So
look, the whole world will probably change as the outcome of this. A lot more people might start working from home permanently because businesses see how the whole world has changed through this, that we might change the way we live and the way we do a lot of things. So there might be lots and lots of opportunities. Plus, I just think that the e-commerce will just take off, because even I think people will just get used to not going to the stores as much, and a lot of stores will have closed down because they're going to be shut down now. A lot of those might not reopen, so there's probably going to be a lot of empty spots where there was retail, where
a lot of retailers mightn't be able to afford to go back to you know, I mean, if you look at a retail space, how much per foot they pay in a local shopping mall. Yeah,
look, I mean, Amazon isn't cheap to get into, but if you look at, say, to set up, I don't know, an Amazon business, you do, you know, you buy some product, you know, your minimum order to start with, and you do your website and your trademark and your images and all those things. You know, it might cost you, you know, $10,000, maybe $20,000 to get everything set up and all your products, and enough money to have your second lot of, you know, stock coming through, because you've got to allow sort of some capital for that. But I mean, where in a bricks and mortar store can you go and open a business for $20,000? I mean, it's probably your down payment to your solicitor for your lease on the building and your first month's rent. So, you know, and you've got your stock and you've got staff to pay from day one. I mean, with Amazon, you actually only need really the money for your stock and your setup, because the product goes into Amazon, it gets sold, they take their fees out of it, and you get what's left. So you don't have to have, if you're selling something for $100, you don't have to have $100. You really only probably need $30, and the rest of it is profit or money that Amazon take in their fees. So it's a lot easier, but it's not that easy that everyone should just jump on it tomorrow. But, you know, unless you're prepared to have at least, I think, $10,000 US, it's not something you should start, because you won't get anywhere.
It's a bit of hard work too, isn't it?
Yeah, look, it's not an hour a day. It can be, you know, at different times of the year it is an hour a day, but a lot of the time, you know, there's things you need to do all the time and work on your business.
It's not a set and forget operation, is it?
No.
You've got to sort of, you know, you can lay on the beach with a laptop, but you're still, you know, checking things at certain times.
Yeah, and if you want to build the business and be successful, it's like everything, it's hard work. Yeah. It's, you know, it's not a piece of cake. I mean, some of the marketers tell you, oh, look, a couple of $1,000 and have their beautiful boat and their Porsche in the picture, and this is your life,
and the Lamborghini.
Day job. It's not true. There's a little bit more to it, but look, it's a great lifestyle. We know many successful people. We've got so many friends from it. It's fantastic. And to not have to go to work every day, 9 to 5, you can do it at midnight. You can do it whenever you like. So there's a lot of freedom as well, which is great.
Yeah. I think what's important is that people need to treat it as a business, and it's not just something that will make you a millionaire overnight.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that's portrayed a lot wrongly. That's you know.
Well, we started as a part-time thing too, didn't we? Really.
Well, yeah, we sort of heard how easy it was and thought, oh, it won't take us. We'll just do this of a morning. But yeah, it's not that easy. No.
It's become a sort of full-time sort of thing.
Well, it's become an obsession.
It's a lifestyle for us. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. So I guess what people should do now, if they're thinking of e-commerce or getting into e-commerce, maybe now's the time to do some research and maybe do the course, Kevin King's course, sign up for Helium 10. And then maybe a couple of months down the line, when everything is settled, you know, with the coronavirus and everything, that's when they should probably launch, you know, their business, right?
Yeah, look, I think too, just at the moment, if anyone does go off and do those courses, it's not a good time to do the product research, because as you can imagine at the moment, probably 80% of the categories on Amazon aren't really selling very much, because everything's being sold, because it's mainly masks and hand sanitizers and things that are needed in this crisis.
So all the essential goods.
So I think at the moment you've really got to wait till the dust settles. I would not even with what we know think of like going, oh yeah, that looks like a good product, look how much it's selling, because the figures are so skewed up at the moment with the issue. So, but I think it's a great time to learn what you want to do, get your ideas, get some products drawn up, you know, do lots of work. And you can do some research, but you'd need some help from someone who knows, because there are ways that we can sort of see what we're selling a couple of years ago, but it's not something that a new person could just do on their own. They, you know, can go and ask, you know, there's a lot of people out there that you can get access to.
Well, there's sourcing from India, the FB page, and the information that people share on their daily.
Yeah, there's lots of information.
I mean, people ask questions of where can I do this and who can I find, and almost daily people are responding and answering. So there's lots of help on a lot of the forums, like sourcing from India, if that's what you want to do. Right. There's others out there. You've just got to search for what you'd like to do. We you know, sort of, we know if we wanted to know something, we have people that we could just reach out to, and the information is there. You just got to reach out to grab it, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what's next for you guys?
Oh, well, at the moment, sitting tight, trying to get through this crisis, I think.
Survive.
Yeah, just survive, because a lot of the niches are not selling very much. We don't sell food and we don't sell hand sanitizer. So, no, our niches are gone fairly quiet, like probably 80% of the people that sell on Amazon. So we've just got to get through this and be ready to go forward. And we've got a new product that we've just sort of put on the back burner just at the moment, because we just don't know what's going on with the whole world, and, you know, how long it's going to be before all the shipping and everything is back to normal. So, but I mean, at the end of it, we want to be there once you know, Amazon is back to itself, and there's more opportunities to grab those opportunities. Like, you know, a lot of the experienced people are saying this is like, you know, almost like going to be like a gold rush at the end of it. Once we get through all this, there's going to be so much opportunity out there to find new products.
Our main factory, one of our main factories in India, we talk to them, we've got a very close relationship with them, and we talk to them almost daily. And it's, hi Marg, I'll just give you an update on how things are, and how many cases are in their area, and even in their streets. And
yeah, so it's a totally different time, I think, at the moment. But you know, I mean, by the time you do the courses and learn enough, you know, in a couple of months, pray tell that the curve's going down, and it'll be a good time to start really going in and looking for your products at that stage, because things will be starting to turn around, we hope.
Yeah.
Right.
Because with Amazon, it's not just that next week type of thing. I mean, there's a you know, a bit of time lag into getting you know, stuff into production. You know, to get your product to market is not an instant.
Yeah, no, I think if you open an Amazon account, you've got to be prepared for at least 6 months before you're live, even without what's going on now. Just from by the time you open your account, you find your product, you do your labeling and your brand design and your copy and your photos. It's a 6 month process to really get something live. So, you know, it's not a rush, and it's not something you can rush. You need to dot every I and T and work your way through it and get it right.
So as far as what's next for us, really, we'll just be sitting back. We'll be revisiting a few ideas that we had during the year with a couple of products. We're not sort of in any rush. We can take things easy. We've got some packaging ideas we want to re-look at.
Yeah, but I just want to really let the dust settle, I think, and you know, make sure we can all get through this and get to the other side, and then off we go again. And I think that's what most people will be doing. You know, some of the seasoned sellers who know, you know, a lot and have a lot of influences inside buying houses and things, they're probably going to go in now and do stuff. But I don't think a lot of sellers would be looking at you know, too much jumping onto things just at the moment.
The trends will certainly change.
Yeah.
And those trends, if you're watching the trends, and you are, you know, you sort of have got capital to spend, then, you know, you might be in a position to jump on a trend and ride that trend. It might be new trends. We don't know what's going to come out the other side. There might be it's a totally new world, perhaps. Who knows at this stage what's going to be out there?
Yeah, what's going to happen,
So that was a lot of great information for someone who wants to start selling on Amazon or start an e-commerce business. So of course, you guys provide private coaching to people. And do you work with absolute newbies as well, or do you mostly work with someone who's
no,
had
look,
some
a lot of the
experience?
time, people who are just starting out, really.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people I'll get stuck. I think it's like product selection and just, you know, learning how to look at products is not easy, and unless you know Amazon and how it works. So yeah, there's a lot of training needed in that, and the costing part. And I think it's no good really starting, and I get quite a few people who come to me for coaching and think I've got a magic wand because they've been selling for 3 months that didn't get their costings right, got the wrong product, and say to me, I'm losing money, can you help me? And yeah, but how can I help you? I can't change what you've done. So I think that people, it's probably worth a little bit of outlay when you're first starting out to go to a coach and make sure that what you're doing is sort of, look, we can't guarantee anything's ever going to work, because you could have, you know, and every person I think who sold on Amazon will tell you that they've had something that didn't work, even though you think it might. But we've got a lot better idea because we know the platforms a lot better, we know what works, and we know how to read a lot of the reports and the graphs.
Yeah, and we can help you to sort of validate a certain product, whether it's worth carrying on, or and Marg can help with you know, keywords, do keywords research where people haven't really got the expertise to sort of see and, you know, what words are going to work.
Getting your listing right and getting your shipping plan right. So there's lots of things that, you know, it's not that easy. You can do a lot of the training, but when you come to do it, sometimes it's a little bit daunting, and I get people to go, oh, I'm stuck. So I think, you know, sometimes that's a benefit of not spending a lot of money on the course, because most of the courses are video type things anyway. So if you haven't outlaid any money now, then you can afford to go to a coach and get a few hours training along the way, which is not going to cost you anywhere near a course.
Even simple things like photographs, images, sell everything, sell the product every time on Amazon. If you've got the wrong images, you know, it might turn people off your product. But if you've got the right images,
it's got to sell the product.
Sell a product for you. So, you know, it's just showing people, you know, this is the way, this is the process, and if you stick to the process, you can win.
And it's doing it in the right logical steps, because people will go, oh, what do I? It's like, you know, what do I do now? Do I do this next? Do I do this next? Because some of the steps, it's very hard to get. There's so many steps. You've got to have this piece of paper to go with that piece of paper before you can press this button. So sometimes it just gets a little bit, the first time you go to do it, you just go, oh, I just don't know where to go here. So I think that's where, you know, a little bit of online coaching, you know, can help you get through those, you know, and stop making a lot of mistakes that could cost you a lot of money if you don't do it right.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing so much information, and wish you guys all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Magla.